Hey y'all, if you're following the Make Bread 365 challenge that we are doing for 2023, it is August, a new month, which means it is time for a new recipe. And this one is brioche bread, and we're doing it with 100% freshly milled wheat, and it's going to rock your socks. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel we talk all things real whole grains from a biblical perspective. So as I mentioned, I am participating in the Make Bread 365 challenge, which was started by Mackenzie over at Little Farm Folk on Instagram, where we're basically challenging ourselves to not buy bread from the store. I will say that this particular recipe, I would say it's an intermediate to possibly advanced recipe. If you're a newbie to bread baking, and especially if you are a newbie to freshly milled wheat, I might get a little bit more experience with an easier bread under your belt before you try this one. Or you can do what I would probably do if I heard that and completely ignore it and just jump right in and possibly fail and make mistakes, but it's okay because you'll figure it out. So what makes this bread a bit more difficult is it has a ton of butter, as you can see, a ton of eggs. So the dough is it's just different. It's a different dough than a typical yeast bread, but the results are completely worth it. Now, the printable recipe will be on my website. It will be in the description box below. To follow or catch up all the recipes that we're doing for Make Bread 365, just check out grainsandgrit.com/makebread365. Now, with this recipe, I am actually doubling the recipe. So the ingredients you see here is not exactly what it's called for in the printable recipe. So do know that what you see me do, what I will be saying is what is in the recipe, but what you see me do is doubling what I'm saying in the recipe, because apparently I like to confuse y'all. So just keep that in mind. Now, for the flour that I like to use, I do like to use hard white wheat. That is because this is a yeast bread, so I do want a hard wheat. I like the hard white because it has a milder flavor that goes very well with the other ingredients. So now let's switch this camera around so you can see up close what I'm doing, and let's get started making this bread. So here we are again. I have the Brioche universal mixer that we are using. So we are adding our ½ cup of warm milk, and adding our 2½ teaspoons of our yeast. Then we are adding our 2 teaspoons of honey, and then I just like to add a little bit of flour, not too much, but roughly about ½ cup. I have just mixed that together. Do not overthink this part. And now we're just gonna let it sit, and it's going to get nice and bubbly, just like it does when we're doing our typical yeast bread. So I do like to keep this, wait about 10-15 minutes. It's been about 10 minutes. After we've got this, we're just gonna add in our 5 large eggs plus 1 egg yolk. We're gonna just add that in here. And then we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, our 5 tablespoons of our cane sugar or white sugar, plus our 1½ teaspoons of salt. And then we're gonna add in our flour. Now, this is probably the most important part. And if you're gonna go wrong, it will be with the flour. Adding it, there is a huge danger of adding too much flour, which will give you too dense of a bread. The recipe calls for about 4 to 4½ cups. So what you're gonna do first is you're not just gonna dump all this in. You're going to add just 2 cups of flour, and then we're gonna slowly add from there. All right, now let's mix this up and go from there. So as you can see here, basically ingredients, I'm looking to incorporate them in, but it's obviously a shaggy, rough looking dough here. That's what I'm looking for right now, but I'm gonna mix it a little bit more because of the egg in here. Okay, there we go. That's a bit better, because you could see in the last one that the parts of the egg was still non-incorporated. So I'm looking basically for everything to be incorporated, but it be shaggy, very, very rough looking. We're actually going to knead this for about 3 to 5 minutes. I'm just going to be doing this on speed 1 with my Bosch. Okay, so it has been 3 minutes, and as you can see, the dough is very, very wet. It is not pulling away from the sides at all. That is fine. Now we need to incorporate our butter, and this is going to take some time. So you're going to want to divide your butter into about 4 portions. Don't overthink it, just 4 portions. And then we're going to slowly add it. So we're going to add 1/4 of our butter. We're then going to knead it for about a minute or 2, all depends on your mixer. Basically, you're looking for the butter to be completely incorporated into the dough. So that's what we're looking for. So add 1/4, go for about 1 or 2 minutes kneading, add another 1/4, another 1 to 2 minutes kneading, add the 3rd 1/4, another 1 to 2 minutes of kneading, and then add the 4th 1/4, another 1 or 2 minutes of kneading. Oh, this is still on speed 1 on my Bosch. One thing you may find if you just did what I did, you may find you need to just stop it periodically to scrape down the sides. That is normal. All right, so I have pretty much all the butter incorporated in there. Now we're gonna add a little bit more flour. And what I'm looking for is I'm gonna be adding, just only add a little bit at a time, maybe 1/4 cup at a time. Because what we're looking for, it's where it's going to just barely start pulling away from the sides. We are not looking for it to be pulling away from the sides as much as it does when we are ready to knead when it comes to a regular yeast bread. This is just barely pulling away. So I'm gonna get this started. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more, and I'm just gonna keep this on a 1 until I start seeing it to where I want it. And do know every time you add flour, wait for it to incorporate before you just start adding some more in. Okay, believe it or not, that's all I want to add for now. I can always decide if I need to add some more later. So you see here, it's starting to come off, but not completely. And now we're going to set this actually on speed 2 for my Bosch. What you're looking for is you're looking for the dough to basically be pretty much lifting off the sides of the bowl. It's incorporated as a nice dough, fairly smooth. And I'll show you here after 9 minutes, I'll check it and see if it's where we want it to be so I can show you what it's like. But as you can see now, it is shaggy, just starting to come off the sides of the bowl. And this is where you will be really tempted that you need more flour. Don't add it yet. You can add it later if need be, but right now, trust the process. So I'm going to set the timer for 9 minutes, and I'll see you back here after that. All right, so here we are after 9 minutes. I already know that this is good, and here's why. So as you can see, as soon as I stop, it is starting to relax back down. That is fine, but it is completely cleaned the sides of the bowl, which is awesome. And more importantly, the dough looks smoother and shiny, and I can grab it and you can see where it just feels like a good dough. It feels like a very buttery dough. It's soft, it's kind of a shiny look to it, and definitely smoother than what it was. From here, you have 3 options, from quickest option to the longest option. So this is perfect for if you need it now or you need it later. So option number one is we take it from here, we shape it into our loaves, and then we let the loaves rise, and then we bake it. Option number two is we take this out, we shape it into a ball, we put it in back in the mixer or another bowl, cover it with saran wrap, let it rise for 1 hour, and shape it into your loaves, let it rise again, and then bake. Or option number 3A is where you can basically do the things in step 2. And option number 2, where you take this out, you shape it into a ball, you let it rise once, you deflate it, you put it in another ball, and then you cover it again with saran wrap and place it in the fridge for 8 hours up to 24 hours. And then that dough, you then can take out, shape, let rise into your loaves, and bake. The option number 3B is you can completely skip the first rise, just shape it into a ball, cover it with saran wrap, and put it in your fridge. I'm going to be doing 2 options today. I'm just going to take half of this because remember I doubled mine. So half of this I'm going to take, go ahead and show you how I shape it, put it in my loaves, bake it so we can have it for the video. The other half I'm going to show you how I shape it for the first rise to put into my fridge. And I do not want to flour my surface because I want it, trust me, there's enough butter, it ain't sticking. Now ideally in a perfect world, if I cared enough, I would weigh this, divide it evenly. I do not care about that today. I'm gonna eyeball it. So there's one I'm gonna set aside. So in essence, I think I need a little bit more here. So basically if you were following the recipe, this is the amount of dough roughly that you would have. But the first step is if you're wanting to let it rise or you're wanting to stick it in your fridge, we're just gonna roll it up into a ball. So no need to really think about it. You just kind of scrunch it up, go underneath, and then you kind of tuck it under. Do not stress about this too much. It's not like we're shaping a loaf. We're just shaping it where it'll rise well. And then you can just put it in your bowl here and let it rise. Or actually we're going to cover this with plastic wrap. I'm going to go ahead and place this one in the fridge. Now the next ball of dough. Like I said, this is actually going to be able to shape 2 loaves. So there's kind of 2 ways that I like to do this. Now you can take this and you can make these into hamburger buns. You can do various things. If you're looking for a brioche dough, this is the dough. And now do with it as you will. I have 2 different ways that I like to do this. So set one aside. These are my USA pans. And first one I'm going to do it's a faux braid or also like pull apart rolls. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to divide it into 8 pieces. Again, if you want to be perfect, weigh everything. Now we're going to shape these into just dough balls. So if you're familiar with how rolls work, same concept. I do want them to be tight. Shaping is important. So again, you can see how shiny my hands are. That's how much butter is in this. And we're going to shape it where I'm kind of pulling it down in my hands like this, and where I'm creating that tension on the top. You can also do this on your counter, but it also creates a smoothness to it as well. So you can see it's shaped. It's got a good tension. And then we're going to kind of stagger these in our loaf pan. So let's just continue. And again, this is a USA pan. It's just your standard loaf pan. These will be linked below. Got these loaf pans actually at Pleasant Hill Grain, which they are sponsoring this video today. I love Pleasant Hill Grain, so I'm supporting a small company. They are the cleanest grains that I ever receive. I love them, and I can get my bread pans. You can get your mixers or grain mills, everything like that. So to shop at Pleasant Hill Grain, just go to grainsandgrit.com/PHG and I'll link it below. And thanks so much, Pleasant Hill Grain, for being a sponsor for Grains and Grit and for supporting all of us here, all of us grainies. They're basically a one-stop shop for all of us, and I love them. So there we go with the loaves. You can see they're slightly staggered. Don't stress about it. And then I'm going to set this one aside for now. And now I'm going to show you the other cool way of doing this. Same type of loaf pan. Use my little roller. For these, I like to go into a rectangle shape, pull back, and then roll up tight like a sleeping bag. Okay, and then we're gonna roll out into a long rope. That's about 14 inches long. And you're gonna wanna try and get it as even as you can. There we go. So this is about a 9-inch wide pan. You can see it's a bit, you can go a bit longer because you can always tuck in the ends. All right, so there's that one. You can see it's not quite even, but that's okay, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, and now we're just gonna do a braided loaf. To do just a braid, very simple. You just take your 3 pieces, and then I like to mush the top together like this and go ahead and kind of fold it over a little bit. Okay, and then if you know how to braid, just braid. And I do like it to be, I do watch it though, because if it's too loose, it won't turn out very well. So there's that one, over, under. No, hold on, I need to stop talking so I can do this right. So just loose it, and then there we go. Okay. Over, under, and then over on top. So I do kind of like, yep, there we go. Got my brain together. So when we get here to the end, I kind of pinch these together and under a bit, just like here. And then here, to even it out, I can kind of just do it like this because I do need it to fit into my pan. And then we're going to carefully lift it up, place it in. Now, I'm going to place these on top of my oven. I'm going to cover them up just with a tea towel, place them and start preheating my oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so I have my bread rising here, and then I just like to cover it with a tea towel and go ahead and preheat it. Now with the instant yeast, this will not take much time at all to rise. An eye on it, and I'm wanting it to rise until it's about ½ inch or so, or no more than even with the pan. Here we are where it's risen. This has been about 45 minutes for me. My house, it all depends on how warm your house is. It is on top of a warm stove. We had it up to 325 degrees. It is about, yeah, maybe an inch from the pan. So not as high as I do a typical yeast bread loaf recipe, but this is going to be great. We're going to put it in the oven for about 35 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. So it's been 35 minutes, and here they are out of the oven. They look beautiful. I'm just going to let them rest about 5 minutes in the pan, and then I'll pull them out. And here they are out of the pan. So you may not be able to see, but these are not very tall loaves, and that's totally fine. That's what we're going for. But these are absolutely delicious. So these are the ones that are basically pull apart rolls. You can just break these off, as you can see here, and it is, oh, so good. No butter needed. I mean, if you want to, that's really fine. I will not judge, but these are so buttery and good. And then this is the beautiful braided loaf that you can slice up very easily. Do know, as far as storing these, I would store them in the fridge if you're not eating them fresh. We're going to serve this up tonight. I've made some cheese grits and some eggs with the brioche bread, which is going to be amazing. I'm telling you, this is so very good. So again, printable recipe down below. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and post your breads. Tag me, Grains and Grit, and also hashtag MakeBread365 for all of your creations. I'd love to see. And hopefully this was inspiring. Oh, just like perfection. Perfection. Yeah, super good. I'm going to stuff my face now. So as always, hopefully y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.